Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Gracious Guest Show, the Gracious Guest Podcast. I'm your humble host, Mike Creevy. And today I just want to take a minute to tell you a little bit. This will probably be a short episode. But on today's episode, I just wanted to share with you really exciting news about my brand new website. I've decided after several years to consolidate a couple things and kind of pull a bunch of different sort of side projects and things that even I didn't necessarily always see as all that related to each other, but they could sometimes be time-consuming because I have them scattered over different platforms and that sort of thing, and I have pulled them together into a one-stop shop, as I called it, for a couple different things. So just by way of brief background, if you're new to the show, my background is in, all sorts of things, but started off in history, which is still a great passion of mine, but very quickly opened up into a profound interest in theology. And it started really as an academic pursuit, that was in conjunction with my own faith growth, my own faith life, and trying to, face a lot of the questions that, like, everybody faces about life and my place in the world and relationships and my own weaknesses and trying to grow and all that kind of stuff that we all run into. So, but then over the years, I kind of got into a couple different interests along with that. I think that I think I have it's just an interest in. I think I have a little bit of a talent for some of it, and always have to keep trying to grow in that, and develop, of course. So, I always enjoyed writing, and I got into blogging a while back, and I started a blog on Google, on Blogspot, on Google's sort of in-house blog platform that they have. And, I think I made a pretty good use of it, especially at first. There were some periods there, a couple weeks or months there where, I would get kind of, wrapped around the axle a little too busy, and I wouldn't write anything for a while, but I've kept it up pretty much consistently for the last couple of years, and I used it for a lot of stuff. I mean, it was a blog sometimes it was about life, just in general, kind of what was going on. Most of the time, though, it would be blog posts that dealt with things that I think in a lot of ways ended up being the seeds for this whole gracious guest idea, which if you haven't, I really recommend going back and listening to the first episode of the show, episode 1 of the Gracious Guest Show, where I kind of went into this in a little bit more depth. But this podcast, it's not like a Bible study podcast. It's not like a theology class. I mean, I'm a theology teacher by trade, and I do a lot of side work that deals with that as well, as far as presentations I'll give sometimes at parishes or different events, like Theology on Tap, which is a young adult group, where you get together and have some sort of faith-related topic, and just you have some drinks and just talk about God and life and where you're at and that kind of stuff. So I do that. I give presentations. I do a church history presentation. It's just like a snapshot of 20 centuries of the history of the Catholic Church for those who really don't know the history of the Catholic Church, or have kind of learned, as I did in a lot of ways, a very distorted or at best, just kind of not very detailed or disjointed kind of understanding of it. I do some talks on patron saints, which is a big thing in the Catholic faith, of trying to link up with our friends in the faith who went before us, and ask for their help and their guidance, look at their lives as examples, and ask for their prayers and that kind of thing. So I had, like, all of these things were saved in different Word documents and PowerPoint presentations and notes and stuff, and and over the years I'd tried so many different ways to organize stuff. I used Evernote for a while, which was great, and then they jacked their prices way up, and so anyways, and Dropbox I was using that for a while, but then I decided on Google Drive, and anyways, you don't need to know all that. The point is that I finally decided last week that, and I'm recording this in July of 2017, I decided last week that as great as that Google blog is, I really just, and I've thought of this in the past, I really wanted to make a real website. I wanted to pony up a little bit of money, and I didn't need to go for like a really crazy, like high level of, I didn't need like an online store and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted a place where I could kind of pull all that stuff together in a nice, good, pretty cool looking, sort of environment on the web that you can just, go to. And for one thing, you can click on there and get the immediate link right to this show, to the podcast. It takes you right to iTunes. So that's a great way. Like if you enjoy this show and you want to share it with your friends, you can give them the link directly. They can look it up in iTunes or Podbean rather, or Pocket Casts. I'm trying to think of what else. There's a bunch of services it keeps showing up in because they kind of feed into each other. But that's what's nice now is now when you go to the website, which I suppose I should give you the URL. It's exciting. It is officially thegraciousguest.org. That's right. No like .google something, .blogspot, whatever. No, it's just thegraciousguest.org. That is the new website. So you'll definitely want to go over there. I invite you to go over there and take a look. I really encourage you to check it out. There's a nice little splash page that just gives you a real quick snapshot of what the show's about. It has and everything's a work in progress. I'm happy with it as it stands now as just a launch, but I'll be adding to it. So you'll see an About Me section at the top if you want to find out a little bit more about my background. There's a couple links I'm starting to develop in there, in a pretty cool little links page. And but on the main page, if you scroll down, what's really cool is as soon as you get there, the first thing you see at the bottom of the initial window, if your window is not shrunk too much, if it's just kind of normal-sized browser window, you'll see my most recent 3 blog posts. And so that's a great way just to kind of see what's fresh. I mean, I don't have a real strict kind of posting regimen just sort of yet. I'd say at best, it's usually about like once a week. Sometimes a few weeks or months have gone by, but those days are behind me because I'm really pulling everything together on this site and making this more of a priority now. So there will be more frequent posts on there. But I'd say look for one maybe about once a week, certainly once every 2 weeks. That's about the same as I try to do, the same sort of schedule that I try to do with podcasts as well. And for those of you who don't know, I also host another radio program called the Ever Ancient, Ever New Show, and that's I do on behalf of a Catholic station out of the Harrisburg area, AM 720 Holy Family Radio. Their website's 720whyf.com, and I have if you go to the links section, the first link in there is the link for that show, and their podcast setup at the station isn't that great, and I don't really have any control over that. But if you click on it, if you click on the link for the Ever Ancient, Ever New Show in my links section, what it'll do is it'll take you right to the Facebook page. And that's where I keep it updated every time we have a new episode come out, which is usually every 2 weeks for that show. I will share a direct